That's right. Pinocchio's not a real little boy.
So why did it try to kill us?
It was tagging you.
Tagging?
Yeah, they're smarter now. That's how they get into our bunkers. They tag along. Who can resist a snot-nosed kid with a hard luck story, eh?
Hey, DickHeads! Like a pink laser beam of truth beaming straight from San Diego, California to your brain hole. We are not the first, we are not the third, but the second variety of your hosts for this episode about...
Screamers!
Screamers.
Also known as second variety.
So, let me get out my notes for second variety.
So this is when the class starts and David pulls down the projector and shows us his PowerPoint presentation.
Right.
No.
This is the academic part of the show.
Well, Anthony, you said you liked this story best out of at least all the short stories we've read so far, right?
Yeah, I think we've only done 3, right? This is the third one we've done.
This is our third story.
This is definitely my favorite of the 3.
Okay, second variety was first published in Space Science Fiction Selected magazine, but the manuscript came to Dick's agency in October of 1952.
Wow.
1952. So, yeah.
I didn't realize the story was that old.
It is that old. Between 1954 and 2001, it appeared in 16 anthologies. That is a lot. That is the most for Philip K. Dick, so it's his most reprinted story. Even more than We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, which won the Hugular. I think it won both, right? Or just won the Hugo. Just won the Hugo. It was in a lot of best-of collections. I think the best one is it appeared in Martin Greenberg's Best Military Science Fiction of the 20th Century. It was published in 2001.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I have had that book in my hand. I think I bought it and then lost it or something, but I remember it being in there. And I know I had read this story before, so it was probably in that book, because that book, I remember it had all kinds of Joe Handelman stuff. It was very good. So that's the publishing history of Second Variety. It has a huge one. It's definitely his most reprinted. So,
Does anybody know here what's considered widely Dick's most appreciated short story?
It might be this one.
It may be this one.
Okay.
Human Is, I know, is considered one of his best.
Do we mean... What do you mean? You mean like literarily or...
I just mean among Dick fans who... What is considered his best short story, I guess, or his
That's
most popular?
Good question. Maybe people will leave comments and tell us their favorite short story.
I know, you guys, seriously, and we'll be on iTunes eventually?
Oh, yeah.
So why weren't we allowed on iTunes, Larry?
Because we have Dick in our name?
Oh,
yeah.
Scandalous.
Yeah.
That is true, though, because I think the Guys We Fucked podcast has to put asterisk on the word fucked, so that would make sense.
Yeah, so we're working on that.
Yeah, but Dick is someone's name.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I
It's not like
that, and they wrote me
Ted
back.
H. Fuck you or anything.
They did write me back and say, we understand, but that's our policy. So, whatever.
I think we'll be under the name PKD Heads.
PKD heads? Yeah, we could try that. Why are we having this discussion during the second variety?
Because it's people.
Relevant.
Because our 5 listeners want to know why we're not on iTunes yet, David.
We have more than 5 listeners.
And because we got to riff a little bit. Just get loose, man.
All right, so second variety.
Back to the lesson.
Yeah. Do you want to give a plot kind of summary?
Sure. Second variety is a short story that Dick wrote when again, David?
1952.
In 1952, about a post-nuclear world where there's a base of, I guess they're American soldiers.
They're technically UN. Soldiers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's after a war between the UN and the Soviet Union.
Who are... Oh, I'm not doing so good. Larry, take over. I'm tired. It's hot.
So basically, it's a wasteland where nothing much above the size of a lizard has survived. Mm-hmm. And most of the people...
A very adaptable lizard, according to the narrator.
Adaptable lizard.
And the basically the luckiest survivors made it off Earth onto the moon.
The moon base.
The moon base.
And so all that's left on Earth are soldiers that didn't make it off the planet and are still fighting the war, even though the moon base is up there just having a party, launching a couple of disc missiles or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Every couple of
So is that where all the bougie people live? All the people from La Jolla went to the moon?
Yeah, and
it's a highfalutin society.
Highfalutin moon society.
Now, can you guys answer me this? And I admit I listened to this on audio, which is not my preferred way of consuming a story, but...
Lesson learned, right?
Right, yeah, I'm not going to do that again. But anyways, what I was a little confused about was, were the robots, the killing machine robots, were they... Claws, in the story, they're called claws. Were they sent by the Soviet Union, or did they evolve on their own?
No, they are made by the UN.
Mm-hmm. And they evolve on their own.
But there are factories underneath the ground.
That's right.
That we started building them. And they say in the story, Dick says in the story that they are still being designed by engineers on the moon base.
Right. And then, so they kind of lose control of these robotic killing machines.
They start repairing themselves and they start adapting.
Well, I don't know if they lose control as much as the machines start to adapt and
take
building
control,
to take control. But they're originally created to defend the UN base against the Russians.
Yes.
I do have this quote from the story. It says, "The remaining troops stayed behind as best they could, a few thousand here, a platoon there. No one knew exactly where they were. They stayed where they could, moving around at night, hiding in the ruins and the sewers and the cellars with the rats and the snakes." Which is pretty grim.
This is actually one of the books we've read and the short stories we've read so far, and even the few I've read ahead that I've already read. This might be one of the grimmest, the most grim, dark PKD story I've read so far.
Yeah.
He does say something in there about
even down
South
to
America still being active, I think.
Yeah, even down to the violence, though, towards the end, when Klaus kills the other soldier,
right,
and when they start descending upon them at the end, it's definitely the most violent of Dick's stories that I've read.
Yeah, it really is a straight military story. I mean, it doesn't have what we nowadays would need all the bells and whistles of technical correctness,
Sure.
But the feel of it is very military, dark, kind of straightforward. You're gonna die or you're gonna live, depending on how well you do in this environment.
You guys want to hear what Philip K. Dick said about this short story?
Well, I'd like to finish.
I'd like to talk.
I'd like to finish the
plot.
The plot.
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't even talked about it.
You just cool it, David.
Okay.
So our hero Hendrix is a UN soldier.
I believe it's Hendrickson.
Nope, that's in the movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's okay.
It's okay to be wrong.
So Hendrix is tasked with going over to the Soviets' side of the
base
of the world,
their base of operations, in order to broker a peace treaty.
Right, which the Russians had sent
along the front.
The Russians had sent a messenger that said they wanted to broker a peace.
Yeah, so I think
he
it was
goes
just
on
like a forward base on the front.
Yeah,
front lines.
Yeah, that's close enough. Dick calls them bunkers, but I think he does at one point mention a base.
Mm-hmm.
But so Hendrix travels to the Russian side of things, where he finds that no one is alive except for 3 people, and he then has to go back to his base with these people. And by the time he gets back to his base, it's been taken over by our claws.
Claws, yeah.
By the claws.
But it's not only taken over by
we'll get to the specifics.
I'm
just running through it.
You are leaving out so much.
I am running so we can talk about that stuff.
Okay, because that's some good stuff.
Yeah. So
then he wants to get onto a aircraft, a rocket ship, and fly to the moon base.
Get off the Earth, because we're never gonna... Wait, no, it's not true. I read a PKD story called The Cookie Lady, And that one definitely doesn't have people trying to leave Earth to go somewhere else.
But this one, he definitely is trying to leave Earth.
Yeah, because that's most of them.
How could you not read a story called
It's in the
Calculator?
oeuvre.
I go, yeah, right?
All right, so...
He fails.
Yeah, he fails to get off the planet.
That's the quick rundown.
So...
He fails like a chump.
Yeah, well... So... A lot of what's going on in this story is once he gets over to the base, he finds out that there's other varieties of
Claws.
So he knows that there's 3 different variety of killing machines or killing robots, and they know what the first variety is.
Now, the varieties are human forms.
Yeah, they're human forms. So originally they were just like these claw, like spider-like things. Right?
Crabs, I think.
Crabs, yeah, which is what we see in the movie. But he knows that they figure out that in order to infiltrate the bases, that the claws evolved to create human-like androids that could infiltrate the bases, right? And they know that the first variety is like a wound. Is the first variety the wounded soldier, or
No, first variety is
The claws.
the claws? All right.
No. That's in the movie. We're starting to get confused. The first variety is the
Davids.
David,
Yeah. Me.
So, but then what's the third variety? The wounded soldier?
the wounded soldier,
Okay, so when it comes to the varieties in the book...
or it's vice versa. I don't remember which
Well,
one's which.
well, I don't think they refer to the claws as any variety.
No, they don't. They do in the movie.
They do in the movie, yeah, okay, but not the short story.
Not in the short story. So there's a variety that's the wounded soldier, which is the Davids, right?
No, the Davids are the little kids.
Oh, okay. I just got the name.
Can I come with you?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that Doctor Who episode with the
Doctor
kids.
what?
Oh, the
Doctor Snooze?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Dr. Magic Screwdriver?
You know, the kids with the gas masks on their face?
Okay, so let's focus on second variety.
No.
I saw The Purge recently.
Oh, my God.
Why? No one wants to talk about the first Purge, I guess.
No.
Purge Pod.
So the thing about the little kids, those are the Davids, right? And,
Yes.
And they are used to, because they know humans are always going to want to take care of kids and
Right.
try to save kids, so it's like a perfect trap.
Snot-nosed kids with a sob story.
Yeah.
Well, but that's how they refer to them in the movie, not so much the
Yeah.
book. They use a process that is both in the short story and the movie called tagging, because it's the easiest way to infiltrate a military base is to pretend you're a kid in need, and then once you're there, you let all the rest of them in. I thought it was really clever.
Yeah. Tag along. Kind
Yeah,
of. That's
tagging.
the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a really insidious one that you would like create a child just to trap, the military. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, but it's like the whole idea of like, the humans, they care so much about their own people that, that they'll always go back to try and save them.
Using compassion against them.
Yes. There was some sci-fi movie, I can't remember which it was, where the humans were specifically being targeted in that
Isn't
way.
it also kind of a Trojan horse way of approaching it, too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of. Not so much, but kind of.
So this gets into PKD themes of what is real, or, what is real, who's real, who can you trust. So definitely...
In the case of the story, no one.
Yeah, you can't trust anybody in the story, and I think overall, yeah, this is definitely one of the strongest PKD things that we've read for sure.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that, because there's not much I would change. In fact,
That spaceship coming out of the ground was kind of funny.
yeah, I mean, it was still 1952. But,
I know.
okay, so before we get into like the critical reaction, how the critics reacted to this story, and some more breakdown, let's see what Philip K. Dick said when asked specifically about this story. He said, "My grand theme, who is human and who only appears masquerading as human, emerges most fully in this story. Unless we can individually and collectively be certain of the answer to this question, we face what is, in my view, the most serious problem possible. Without answering it adequately, we cannot be certain of our own selves. I cannot even know myself, let alone you, so I keep working on this theme. To me, nothing is as important as this question. So, he didn't directly say anything about, like, the actual
I thought
story.
the most important Dick question was, are you or are you not a precog?
Right. There's no precog.
That was the case in Japed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah. There are no precogs in this story.
So...
But there's tests.
Yeah.
Loads of them.
And yes, so to confirm that we thought in T.S. Miller of Strange Horizons, which is the science fiction website, called the story one of Dick's most compelling works, often singled out as one of the early stories that most anticipates Dick's preoccupations in his most famous novels. So
Really?
Yeah. Now, it's somebody who I want to get on the show is there's a guy who's doing he's doing what we're doing, reading all the PKD for his own personal podcast and doing a blog about it, and he has a website, WordPress, Philip K. Dick Review. His name is Evan Lamp. And so I've been reading a bunch of his criticism on it, and he wrote up a thing about Second Variety, and he said, and I thought this was really good, the suggestion on almost every page of Second Variety is the massive indifference of the institutions to human life. This was the logic that went into the design of the clause, and when they turned out so catastrophically. In this way, Second Variety may be science fiction's answer to Paths of Glory. Both de-romanticize war by showing the bureaucratic logic and systematic indifference. So, Paths of Glory is a early Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah.
Starring Lloyd Bridges, I think.
It's starring,
I think it's Lloyd Bridges.
no, it's,
I've never seen it, so I don't...
damn it.
Oh,
Can't
it's
help
good.
you on this one.
It's great. That movie's, that's probably my favorite Kubrick movie.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but
But
I like it.
it is so bleak. Oh, it's so good. No, it's I have to look it up because
Look it
it's
up?
not. It's
Yeah, Paths of Glory has, like, part of the whole thing of Paths of Glory is showing just, like, how governments can just turn, like, a war machine into, like, something that just swallows up humans.
you know what a good companion film is Wages of Fear.
Yes, Wages of Fear is good. Although I'm one of the few people that like Sorcerer better in the 70s remake.
It's a good movie. They're better. They're good for different reasons.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Sorcerer is way more batshit crazy. So, but yeah, Paths of Glory, I see the similarities between Second Variety as kind of like a science fiction version of the same kind of thing. And I like the concept of how human life is just turned into, it's so callously thrown about in this war that even, like, the machines, like, just become even more of killing machines than they intended them to be.
Kirk Douglas is in Paths of Glory.
Kirk Douglas,
That's who it
right.
is. Moving
Yeah.
on.
Not Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah.
Kirk Douglas. It was one of those guys that had kids who acted.
Wow. One of those old guys that had kids who acted once.
Yeah. So another thing that's really interesting and Evan Lamb brings up in his essays, is how Second Variety relates to Asimov's laws for robotics, as in PKD don't give a shit about.
Yeah, right?
Because for those of you who don't know, Asimov's laws of robotics are supposed to be the 3 rules that robots must follow. And so a lot of science fiction adheres to Asimov's laws, use them as,
A basis for
and a jumping point.
their narratives.
Yeah, and PKD obviously does not care. He kind of has his own rules for robots in here. Lamp wrote that he thought the alternative to Asimov's law, number 1, garbage in, garbage out. In other words, if you create a robot that has the job of killing is what it will do, and it will develop its own original capacities to do that. And number 2, robotic systems will tend towards greater automation. They'll automate themselves.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, and those are kind of like PKD's laws of robotics.
Right.
The greater automation and it don't give a shit. But so I think that I I think it's interesting to note because I'm pretty sure Asimov's Laws of Robotics happened in iRobot, which happened in 1951. So that would have been 1 year before this was written, and so I think everybody was probably talking a lot about Asimov's laws at the time.
That makes sense.
And so,
and of course, Dick being Dick had to go the opposite direction.
Yeah, and he's going to follow his story the way that he wants to do it.
I think you could get away with doing that back then, whereas now you'd probably get crucified for not getting the science right.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was just something more acceptable in fiction is you just made it up.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think people who read science fiction or watch it want at least some amount of plausible science fiction. Yeah. I don't personally care all the time. You can't just say there's
factories under the ground and call it done.
If I may reference that piece of shit Total Recall remake where an elevator goes through the middle of the fucking Earth. Oh.
Right. Well, I think PKD obviously doesn't care about Asimov's laws, but it is really interesting to think about it being so around the same time because Asimov's laws have become kind of ubiquitous in science fiction. You see them all the time, and in reality, the reason why Asimov's laws exist is because it does make logical sense that if you're going to create robots, that you would govern them with those types of rules. However...
But this is a wartime thing, so...
That being said, we have robotic drones committing warfare now.
Right.
So
who was correct?
Who was correct?
PKD, that's who was correct.
Yeah.
Although they're not autonomous. Yet.
Well, yeah. Well, there was a Black Mirror episode about that, right?
Right.
Yeah. We're seeing that kind of thing. It's probably not too far in the future. And I think it is more realistic that your nasty corporations and dictatorships in the world would use robots for that purpose.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I don't think he was far off on that. So, all right. Are we about ready for final judgments of the short story? Before we move on to the movie, or do you have more?
Let's see.
Well,
no, there's a lot more to the story.
There's a lot more to the story. Kind of. And let's say it now, the movie does a pretty good job of being pretty faithful to the short story.
Yeah.
But what I really liked about the short story is the kind of the tension that Dick built throughout what'd you say, it's about 40-ish pages?
Yeah.
Because
it's 45.
When they go back with Hendrix to the base, and he's standing outside, and the remaining two Russian soldiers are standing on the ridge, and he goes down to the base to call in, to have them meet him up there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just back and forth dialogue with a little bit of action here and there. It really builds this awesome moment of tension that I think takes a lot to elicit a reaction from me, and I was pretty engaged with it.
Yeah, that whole thing was freaky.
And because I think as a reader, just by the sheer fact that they're not answering,
not responding to his
in a normal way.
Normally.
They're just kind of answering with an indifference.
And it sort of goes back and forth almost like a child's argument. Come down. You come up. Come down. You come up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that the whole the whole thing with the Davids and I thought that was particularly kind of a nasty kind of subplot to the story that that's one of the things I enjoyed most in the story. It's because I thought my brain started working at all the different ways they could use those children.
Here, I think this is really cool, so everyone just bear with me. Are we ready for this?
Yeah,
ready.
Read it.
Yeah. So they're back at the base, and Hendrix is standing outside. He waited, holding his gun against his side, the transmitter tightly to his ear. Time passed. He strained to hear, but there was only silence. Silence and faint static. Then, distantly, metallically, "This is Scott." The voice was neutral, cold. He could not identify it, but the earphone was minute. "Scott, listen, I'm standing right above you. I'm on the surface looking down into the bunker entrance. Yes. Can you see me? Yes. Through the view sight? You have the sight trained on me? Yes." Hendrix pondered. A circle of claws waited quietly around him, graying metal bodies on all sides of him. "Is everything all right in the bunker?" Nothing unusual has happened? Everything is all right? Will you come up to the surface? I want to see you for a moment. Hendricks took a deep breath. Come up here with me. I want to talk to you. Come down. I'm giving you an order. Silence. That whole thing to me is amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read the story before, and when I reread the story this time, it's not so much who the second variety is that's compelling, which it is very compelling who the second variety is. But there's so much more to the story than just that simple mystery. There's other plot lines that come up and keep you engaged even as that's playing out. It's got a very good build to it that you don't see in a lot of short stories.
I agree.
And there's structure, and there's narrative structure that is really well thought out. Yeah, it's definitely ahead of its time even for PKD, I think. And one thing that's interesting when we get to the last part of the podcast, because Second Variety has been optioned for an hour-long drama show. And
excellent.
So there's ways that this story can be expanded. And it's really interesting because I don't know how you guys feel, but this is definitely one where I was like, man, this could have been a novel. And this should have been a novel. And a lot of
I don't know. I like it as a short story. I like if it was a novel, I think you would have to add. It would be a totally different story you would tell than this one.
I think if it were a novel, it would have the effect on me that the movie has, where I like it, but I feel like there are things that didn't need to be there just to flesh it out.
Right.
I think the story, for me, aside from the little one-man rocket ship coming out of the ground, is pretty solid.
Yeah, it works on that, like I was saying, that bare level, the military sort of straightforward way of telling a story. It didn't need to be any longer.
I'm going to disagree here a little bit and say that there was a lot more they could have mined as far as like the conflict, the war, the world building was all really good in the sense that I think that there was territory they could have expanded.
But I think the short story is more aimed at the interaction between human and non-human. And so I don't know if fleshing out so much of the background stuff needed to happen.
No, I'm not saying background, but yeah, I think you could have. Well, I don't know. I'm not talking about like Stephen King novel length. I'm talking about
Second Variety, 1,000 pages.
Right.
No, I'm talking like Cosmic Puppets length, like 140 pages.
Maybe.
That's what I'm.
I like it the way it is.
The other thing I really liked about the story is, like I was saying, the other parts of the story beyond who the second variety is, was the introduction of the claws as an independent species, as an independent race of people, and how he put that into the story just as sort of like a side thing, but that's also where the story ends, is how no matter how much you change or how much you are better than the last race that existed, you're still going to end up killing each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of the whole last sentence of the story.
Yeah.
Is that it doesn't matter how many wars you win, eventually you'll kill the next in line.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant the way he set that up.
Do you want to read the last sentence of the story, Larry?
No, go for it. Read it.
Go ahead, David. It's the last story in there, so just...
The bomb. As Tassos reached for him, a last ironic thought drifted through Hendricks' mind. He felt a little better, thinking about it. The bomb. Made by the second variety to destroy the other varieties. Made for that end alone. They were already beginning to design weapons to use against each other.
That is a great way to end a story.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Larry on that.
Yeah. No, it's an excellent ending. And I definitely think that if there was any doubt early in his career whether we were seeing a guy who was just a phenomenal writer, because a lot of times people will say, well, I've heard people say that Dick didn't become a better writer until later in his career, which I think is bullshit.
Right.
But...
Well, we're finding that out, aren't we?
We are finding that out, and I think Second Variety is just a phenomenally written story. The prose is tight, the narrative structure is tight.
It is.
The ideas are really there. So I think, this story has been anthologized 16 times for a reason.
Yeah.
And a lot of those collections are best robotic sci-fi, best end-of-the-world sci-fi, best military sci-fi. It's a lot of best collections. And I think the reason why you see it keep getting reprinted in all those ways is because it is a really strong story. And look, Dan O'Bannon bought this story for a reason,
right?
To make it into a movie, not just because at the time it wasn't like Philip K. Dick was bankable. No one had, when he bought the story for Second Variety for a film, that was before Blade Runner, so he was not bankable. He had nothing had ever been made, and he bought Total Recall, or he bought We Can Remember It For You Wholesale and Second Variety for a reason, because like these were just great stories. And
he was a man of vision.
Yeah, that Dan O'Bannon. Yep. So speaking of that, we'll get there in a minute, but I think overall, the more I think about it, I listened now, just truth in advertising here. I thought I had the story in one of my collections and it wasn't in it. And so, I just pulled an audio version and listened to the audio version. So I don't think I got quite the experience that I did the first time. I know I read the story before because I remembered lots of little things, but it had been a while. So, but
yeah, audio just doesn't do it for me. I don't know why.
No,
I just can't retain the same amount of information.
I don't mind listening to audio for other purposes, but when we're coming on here and talking the nitty gritties of the story, I want to be able to see the words on the page.
Yeah,
right.
Reading it helps me retain it more than I'll kind of go on record as saying I don't really care for audiobooks or audio stories.
I agree.
Not because I think
it's not an elitist thing.
It's just I just feel more engaged with a book reading it more than hearing someone read it to me.
Yep.
Right. Now, if you really want to find out what happens in the new James Patterson novel, it's probably a fine way to,
that's a thing I've never been interested in, but sure. I feel you. I mean, I might listen to the audiobook of Under the Dome.
Right. If you had 20 years to listen to it.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, no, and I was kidding, but I will defend the first two James Patterson novels are actually really good before he became an industry. Kiss the Girls and Along Came the Spider are actually pretty good. But on this one, Second Variety, yeah, overall, I just, obviously we all love it. So
yeah,
I don't think there's much else to say about that.
Pretty much unanimously.
I would give it 5 claws.
5?
I would give it 5 varieties.
Yeah, I'd say 5 varieties out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, definitely.
I will end up criticizing the story a little bit.
Okay.
But there's nothing in it I would change. It's a perfect story as far as I'm concerned.
So what the hell would you criticize it for?
Yeah, and why are you waiting till before we move on to say that?
I got my reasons.
We're patiently waiting. Well, what's your fucking problem with the story?
I don't have a problem with the story.
Okay. You just said you'd criticize it. Well, criticize it.
Well, why I don't have to have a problem with it to criticize it. But I didn't criticize anything. You watch.
Jesus Christ.
Stay tuned as I criticize
are you
things I love.
Incorporating it in the movie part?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Larry, just doling out little bits of information as we go along.
All right, let's talk about that. Okay, so...
Just trying to keep the conversation lively.
Woo.
So
hot.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, it is a heat wave in San Diego, which I know everyone else in the country is, boo-hooing us because we generally don't have very hot temperatures, but it is pretty hot right now, and it's very hot.
Yesterday was so hot that when I went to run my errands on lunch at work, I almost puked.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
On the puke cast.
It's hot. Yeah, it's my new cast, the Vomitorium.
Okay, so the movie...
Somebody starts singing a pop song.
1995, the movie Screamers came out. But let's talk about the history of how this movie came to be.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so... As we discussed earlier, Dan O'Bannon, who mentioned in the Total Recall episode, because he was the co-screenwriter of Total Recall. Dan O'Bannon is most famous for having co-written Alien, but he also...
Real quick, David, I don't mean to interrupt you, but while we're on the topic of Dan O'Bannon...
Yeah.
before I came over today, I was doing some research, and I was hoping to find some interviews with him about Screamers, and he only kind of briefly mentioned Screamers and nothing of any value. But what he did bring up is his working on the script of Total Recall, and we didn't talk about this because I don't think any of us found it. Mm-hmm. But I think that him and Shusett had a very tumultuous relationship. If I could derive from what he said in the interview,
the Walter Hill thing.
Really?
Well, no, which is another thing I didn't know anything about, but if you want to bring that up in a second, because that is really interesting, because I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Excuse us while we divert into the Bannon cast for a minute.
I'm lost here. I'm excited.
No, I found this interview on Den of Geek that O'Bannon did in, I think, 2007, where they were asking him about working on the script for Total Recall, and basically, I'm going to paraphrase, but his response about working with Shusett on that script was, Ronald only really cares about having his name attached to having it above the title, and I think O'Bannon pretty much did the majority of the writing.
Which is weird, because he was also his co-writer on Alien, so... Mm-hmm.
But I only learned about the Walter Hill thing today, David, so...
Yeah, so the Walter Hill thing, if you people are unfamiliar, you people out there in podcast listening land, Walter Hill is one of the producers of Alien. He also directed The Warriors and a lot of really cool stuff. But Walter Hill and Dan O'Bannon kind of...
They, I guess, hate each other.
Yeah.
Or hated, because Dan O'Bannon's dead.
Yeah. They hated each other's guts enough that it was very hard, like, with all the Alien sequels and everything, they kind of were sort of... I think Dan O'Bannon got pushed out by Walter Hill, and Walter Hill continued to be a producer, even to the Alien vs. Predator movies. I think he was still a producer. And I think he pushed Dan O'Bannon out, but I could be wrong on that. But I do know for a fact they know like each other.
Was O'Bannon involved with any other Alien movies other than the first one?
No, I don't think so. But I couldn't, because he mentioned that I guess Walter Hill and another producer tried to change all the names of the characters in the script and then take credit for the screenplay. If I'm led to believe this I'm trying to kind of extrapolate from the interview because it was a little vague, but it was interesting because it's just a little piece of Alien lore that I never knew.
Right.
Yeah, there are really specific rules for screenplays, getting for credits for screenplays. I think it's I heard this from someone sometime in the industry, is something like if someone writes 51% or changes 51%, they can take over as the main screenwriter.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be important stuff either. It could be stage directions.
Right, which, they had a big issue with that with Rogue One, because Tony Gilroy changed, the ending of the movie, completely. But the first, 75% is basically Gary Whitta's script.
Right.
And Gary Whitta has story by credit. He doesn't have credit on the screenplay.
Right, not the screenplay credit.
And so, but I think they were able to argue, partially because he this has nothing to do with PKD.
Yeah, you know what? No,
it doesn't have to do with movies.
But it does have to do with movies. And David, it's okay to sometimes talk about other things.
I know,
but one thing I would want to kind of propose to you guys, I'm going to do it right now while we're recording, is can we do a side?
Oh my God, it's really happening.
Fuck you, man. Can we do maybe a small episode, at maybe just some supplemental episode on Dan O'Bannon at some point?
Yeah, he did 2 Philip K. Dick movies, I think so.
And because Larry and I were talking about this before you showed up, David, Dan O'Bannon is kind of, to me, an underrated screenwriter. I only hear people talk about how great he is in our communities, our circles,
Right.
but I think he's somewhat underappreciated, and I don't think he really kind of got the success that
he deserved.
Or should have.
And we're assuming that you listened to our Total Recall episode, but in case you didn't, Dan O'Bannon, besides co-writing Alien and going through film school with John Carpenter, he co-wrote Dark Star. He
starred in Dark Star.
Had an acting role in Dark Star, which is the student film that he and John Carpenter made at USC. And he also wrote Canon Films' Invaders from Mars, Life Force. Mm-hmm. He wrote and directed Return of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm. And what is that Lovecraft movie?
The Resurrected.
The Resurrected.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
And so, not...
It's a great career.
Yeah, it's a pretty good career, and, I mean, just for having written Total Recall and Alien alone, those are pretty seminal works. Dan O'Bannon is really important into this, and I think Dan O'Bannon plays a huge role in popularizing Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
Because he bought the rights to Total Recall and Screamers before Blade Runner even happened. So here's the thing: if the guy who wrote Alien didn't, I mean, I'm assuming that Dan O'Bannon at some point had conversations with Ridley Scott, and I'm assuming that has something to do with how Blade Runner happened. Now I know Ridley Scott's very dismissive of the source material with Blade Runner.
Yeah, that's true.
To a kind of fuck off Ridley Scott kind of way, because he's very dismissive of PKD.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Prometheus then. Fucking piece of shit.
He just wanted to get me going. I actually like Prometheus, but this is not the Ridley Scott cast.
And it never will be.
Yeah, we'll never do that. But Dan O'Bannon is so important to Philip K. Dick becoming popular, because if you think about it, Total Recall happening almost has more to do with the popularity of Philip K. Dick than Blade Runner.
Yeah, there was, 8 years between those movies?
Right, mm-hmm. And I think Total Recall is when you saw all the short stories getting optioned. Because people saw, so that's when you have your paychecks and your Minority Reports and all that. So I think Dan O'Bannon plays a really important role, and he bought the film rights for Second Variety and Total Recall before Blade Runner, so that's a pretty big deal. We also know that the two of them worked together in the sense that Dan O'Bannon was very open to showing his screenplays and getting feedback from the man himself, PKD.
Which is very cool.
Yeah, PKD, in fact, in an interview, he talked about having... This is obviously because the movie didn't get made till after he died. So he was talking about the Dan O'Bannon script. Philip K. Dick said, word for word, I have been up to reading another film project, the little Capitol Pictures one called Claw, based on Second Variety. They're very nice. I really like them. He's talking about going to the production office. They're very nice. I really like them. Every change that's made, they send me a copy to get my opinion. They just treat me like a human being. In other words, I'm able to discriminate between essentially reputable people and these high-pressure types. Speaking specifically of the script, he said Screamers was, quote, a winning script, sensational ending, better than my original story. The last line was a tremendous punch. I read it, emitted a tremendous shriek, and fell over backwards. Now, I don't know if the movie had the same ending as the Dan O'Bannon script, but...
Me either. But we're going to talk about that last shot, because boy, does it make me knock this movie down a peg.
So I'm assuming that the Dan O'Bannon script was different. And so when we do the Dan O'Bannon episode, maybe we should try to track down a copy of the script.
I'm on it, boss.
And we'll try to track down the Total Recall script.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
David,
that's what we'll
David,
do.
I knew there was a reason I let you on this podcast.
Anyway, so the movie.
So the movie was directed by Christian Duguay. Duguay is a Canadian director. His credits were basically 2 direct-to-video Scanners sequels before this. Real high class.
Right.
Wait, before this?
Before Screamers, he did...
Oh, sorry, Scanners. I heard it as Screamers.
Yeah, he did Scanners. No, he did not make Scanners 2 for... No, he made
some kind of time slip.
Yeah,
some kind of Martian time slip. Ooh!
I have not seen the Scanners sequels, but I'm assuming they're garbage.
No, they're actually
I saw them a long time ago.
All right, so
one of them has Scanner Cops, right, Larry?
Yeah, there is Scanner Cops.
That he did not direct Scanner Cops.
Anyway, later on the Cronin cast.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but Duguay, one thing that I will say is that it's funny because I didn't realize this till just a little while ago. I was looking at his IMDb page. He directed a miniseries for for Lifetime or Hallmark or something called Human Trafficking. And it was starred Donald Sutherland and Mira Sorvino. And I actually watched that a while back because, well, I was...
Because you're into that kind of thing?
Well, I was into the subject because I wrote a novel about human trafficking, flesh trade.
Right.
Science fiction novel. And so I remember I did, like, when I was researching human trafficking, I thought, oh, well, I'll watch this movie. And it was weird. It wasn't terrible, but I would never have guessed when I was watching that was from the director of Screamers. You know? But, yeah, so, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I will say this. I've definitely seen worse low-budget sci-fi movies.
Right.
Now, that comes into the next question the production company was Triumph Films. I've never heard of it. But it was distributed by Columbia Pictures. It was released in Canada September 8th, 1995. That officially makes it a 1995 movie. It did not get distribution until 96. It did have a theatrical release because I know I did see it in the theater. I did not pay to see it in the theater. That's we used to have this movie theater in Syracuse where I was going to the school at the time. That the way the mall was set up, they didn't actually check tickets. So for like 2.5 years, we really just walked in.
You just walk in and see a movie?
We would just walk in and see movies. And I'm not... Yeah, whatever. Anyways, that's how I saw Dark City as well.
I saw Screamers on VHS.
Right. Now, according to IMDb, the budget was $20 million. We've also heard $11 million.
Yeah. It depends on how they regard the budget. You know, sometimes they include extra things like marketing and stuff, and sometimes they don't. So.
Right.
I'm going to say this does not look like a $20 million movie.
No, it doesn't. I think 11 million sounds about right for this movie.
I think it looks like a $5 million movie to me.
I think you don't even know what a $5 million movie looks like.
Oh, shit.
Dang.
Wow, for once it's not me with the hot takes.
Well, look, some of the special effects in this are just dog shit.
Yeah, and there's some really
bad.
goofy moments, like when Hendrickson looks over when he's trying to figure out what is the second variety, essentially, and that's the David walks in and its face morphs into a Ghostbusters monster for some reason. It's super weird.
And like when the David robot gets shot and like its guts are hanging out, it literally looks like they just bought like a model kit and just kind of like
stuffed it in there.
There. It's there's some. Now that being said, if I know a movie has a really low budget and I actually think, considering that it's a low budget, they do some decent things with what they've got. And I will forgive a movie for shitty effects if you're telling a good story still, right?
And they stuck pretty close to the short story. So I think this was a well-told story.
This is the most solid adaptation we've watched so far.
Yeah, the biggest change is where it takes place.
Where it takes place.
It's a more solid adaptation than Total Recall?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The
But it had
beats
a lot
of
more material.
The beats of the short story are exactly the same as the beats in the movie.
Yeah.
It opens with a soldier showing up on the ridge to deliver a message, gets ghosted by scanners, they get the message.
Screamers.
Did I say scanners?
He said scanners.
That's a different movie, excuse me.
That would be a good
They take the
crossover.
message, even though this message is what? Oh, no, it's not the... I'm getting ahead of myself, because at some point we get a hologram.
Right, that's later.
Yeah, and they essentially... Hendrickson
hologram.
goes on the mission to figure out what this peace treaty message is. One of the biggest differences is that he takes that nerdlinger with him.
Right.
Well, because
But see, you have
Because,
to do that in a movie. You
You have
can't
to do
just...
it in a movie,
You know what?
that's
If
what they're
Tarkovsky had made this,
Oh, jeez.
it would be slow and depressing. Just like that short story.
Solaris
In Stalker.
and Stalker.
Two awesome adaptations.
That would be an interesting version of Screamers.
Much different. Sorry, I got carried away.
All right.
A little bit.
Yeah, so the movie, I mean, they do a lot with what they've got, and I guess I can see it. I don't think it's my favorite. I think Total Recall is still my favorite.
Of the ones we've seen so far?
The ones we've seen so far. But this is only our third or fourth film?
Sorry,
Third.
Third, yeah. But,
Well, I didn't say this was my favorite. I said it was the best adaptation.
Oh, best adaptation. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, it is. It's very close. It's very faithful.
And the dialogue goes line for line often in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even the events down to when the first David, they run into the first David, and it follows them back to the bunker where the soldiers are waiting, and they blast that stupid thing right into the snow.
Right?
Oh,
Right.
It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
That
moment.
was well done.
Yeah, it was.
And they're working with what they got. I mean, like, certainly Peter Weller is a pretty well-known actor, but the cast is not, well-known actors.
I don't think anyone else in the cast is well known.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody but Peter Weller.
Yeah, so I think probably a good part of your budget right there
Was to pay RoboCop,
to pay RoboCop.
to pay Alex
and it
Uh,
Murphy
was
to be in
worth
your
it.
movie.
It
Was worth it because Peter Weller is awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty good in this. He has some goofy moments, but I think they end up servicing the story and making it work. So there was a rewrite at some point after Dan O'Bannon. There was another writer, Miguel Flores, I think it was.
Tejeda Flores.
Yeah. So I don't know what that rewrite looks like, but it was probably changing the ending and some other things. But as close as it is to the story, I'm assuming that it couldn't have been that serious of a rewrite.
Well, we'll find out when we
Right.
seek out those original
Yeah,
scripts.
it really depends.
And if anyone knows
did
where we
Dan
can
O'Bannon
get
write
those.
it to be in a Third World War,
Right.
Russia UN thing, or there could be heavy replacements in there. We just don't know.
And if anyone knows where we can get those, let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid delivery.
All right. So, anyways, so the film Screamers has one of the interesting things that I really liked about it that some people would probably complain about is I loved the matte paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah, the matte paintings, like they were very obviously matte paintings, but
Right. It's not like they blended them in as
Right.
well as they did in the Star Wars movies or
Yeah.
anything like that.
they didn't hide
Or-
the fact that they were using matte paintings, but they were fucking gorgeous. And
Yeah.
yeah, they looked really good.
It looks cool.
I wonder who I don't know who the artist was, but
Oh, so I don't know either. But one of the major changes the biggest change between the short story and the movie is that the short story takes place on Earth, nuclear radiated destroyed Earth.
yeah, I already said that. Well, you got to repeat stuff I already said.
Yeah, dude.
So it takes place in Sirius
Why-
B. Did
why-
you mention Sirius B?
Why are you taking my thunder?
I don't know if he mentioned Sirius.
I didn't.
Okay.
I was hoping you would mention the planets because I didn't remember what they were called
Because we don't nerd as hard as you, David.
yeah. So
on the
Sirius.
astronomy stuff.
Yeah.
So Sirius is a star in Orion, and it's very close to Earth. So it's actually not that hard to believe that I don't know. There's no way by 2078 when this movie takes place we'll have colonies on Sirius B, but it's actually Sirius is the star that my novel Goddamn Killing Machines, which comes out later this year, takes place at too. So
Cool.
So we share that in common. So Sirius B is a nuclear irradiated planet, and
It's Sirius 6B, isn't it?
B, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they also talk about Triton, colony on Triton, which was interesting because that's actually a moon of Jupiter, a moon of Neptune. But whatever.
So that's the place where the young guy what's
That's
his name?
where the MacGuffin.
Ace
Yeah.
Jefferson
Yeah. So
is headed.
Yeah, like Total Recall, there's a precious chemical MacGuffite that is crucial to the colony plans.
Well, that's also the part of the big difference is that this is a corporation
Yeah.
fighting the government,
Instead of
whereas in the short story it's the UN versus the Russians,
right.
but we don't know the reason.
Well, there's one difference is that the Soviet Union had collapsed, and by the time the movie was made,
Yeah, so it couldn't. It wouldn't have worked out that way.
Yeah, it was smart not to make it. Now, then again, I like out-of-date science fiction, so I actually wouldn't mind if the new TV show Second Variety, if they had it be a nuclear war with the Soviet Union, that might be interesting.
I would be into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you liked the Third World War idea more than the than the space stuff, right, Anthony?
Yeah, because the whole space mining corporation, blah blah blah. It's just kind of goofy. Yeah, it's kind of goofy and overused for me. That's just, I mean, that's the same shit in Total Recall.
Yeah, the MacGuffin thing is starting to really annoy me in science fiction.
It really is.
Yeah. It's everywhere. Black Panther has, I mean, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
unobtainium and
unobtainium and all that.
Avatar,
yeah, we get it. Resources, we know. Corporations fuck up resources.
Yeah.
I get it. We all get it. Move on.
Right. I actually don't like that change in here. I understand why they did it, because the Soviet Union had just recently kind of fallen about maybe it was six years earlier.
I do like it being on other planets.
I don't.
That Earth is their destination rather than moon base Camp C.
The moon base is a little goofy, so they're doing a reverse Dick, where we want, instead of wanting to leave Earth, we want to go to Earth.
We want to get to Earth.
Ooh, twist.
I wish it had been Earth. Actually, I like it better in the story being Earth. The moon base thing I could live without, but you know.
Bougie ass moon base.
I like me a destroyed post-apocalyptic Earth. That's my favorite subgenre of horror and science fiction.
Bunch of rich Moonanites living on the moon.
Moonanites.
Moonites.
Moonites.
Moonites. So yeah, that is a huge difference between the two. Is there anything else in the differences between the story and the movie that you guys want to talk about? Like
the big differences between the two, other than the ending, which is, I think, the biggest difference. What do you think, Anthony? Is there any other really big difference?
I'm not
the environment. The environment.
Well, we just kind of already talked about the environment.
But the ash. I understand they
one
were
of
on a budget.
One of the biggest reasons I prefer the environment in the short story is that you get this kind of very bleak, grim kind of...
all the trees are dead.
Yeah, everything's gray and dead and...
animals other than really small ones.
And I think it fits the theme of the story better than this kind of dusty-ass Mars-looking planet.
Right. Which is...
Well...
it's very brown in the movie, and then they have snow.
Yeah, but...
In the story, it's just covered in ash.
Yeah.
Which is probably mostly dead people.
It looks like the shoreline of Earth when they go back to Earth in Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
You guys remember that?
Yeah.
And that's how I pictured it. I think aesthetically the movie could have been a lot better.
You mean the first Earth, not our Earth, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But what I think the biggest difference that I didn't like is who chose that fucking song?
Yeah.
Not that there was a song.
difference.
No, I know. I just wanted to get there.
Okay, so
let's get there.
So let's explain that, because I know some people do actually listen without having watched the movie or haven't watched the movie in a long time. And if you haven't watched the movie in a long time, you will not remember this, because I did not remember this.
Me either.
But there is a part where Hendrickson
and Jefferson
are
first leaving.
They're first leaving, and they're going to walk to the big peace powwow. And Hendrickson puts on headphones to listen to music, to which we, as the audience, gets to hear the music that he's listening to.
Which is some kind of early 90s pop song.
And boy, is it bad.
It's real bad, and it totally takes you out of the movie, because it's like, they're leaving for this, like, crazy walk across the apocalypse, and instead of, like, music that's fitting for that, it's like some just terrible...
Yeah, I expected some kind of droning bass line as they're going across this planet, and instead it's just...
bad.
Whoa.
And look, you may be thinking to yourself, what's the big deal? Why are they so...
Don't worry, you'll find out at the end of this episode.
Yeah. This song is so bad and so misplaced, it just really does take you out of the movie. It's impossible.
Yeah. It really does. It's a very bad choice from a directing standpoint, because it doesn't fit the tone. The song, at least in my opinion, doesn't even relate to what's happening. I don't know if it's supposed to be just a weird feel-good moment, but I don't want a weird feel-good moment as they're going...
It's not a feel-good moment.
As
they're going across this wasteland.
Feel bad when you hear the song.
It's like someone let Zack Snyder go back in time to pick this fucking playlist.
Guys.
Yes.
I have a theory.
Okay.
Much like my Shania Twain that I told you guys earlier. I'm guessing that a crucial part of the budget was tied to this song. I bet you some financier had a daughter with a band.
Right.
And this song was like, hey, we'll give you another $1 million towards your budget.
To play this song?
You just gotta play the song.
Mm.
Yeah, it could really do with funding.
It really honestly could.
It's a good theory.
Because, like, there's no other excuse for this. There's no way that sitting in the editing bay, that the editor, the filmmaker, the sound designer, that they all agreed, you know what? This song sounds pretty fucking good in this movie.
If you know why this song was used, tweet at us or
Please
DM us on Instagram or Facebook and
Please
let us know. Tell us if you know or have a theory, because it's been a long time since I've sat through a movie and thought, this doesn't make any sense.
We're going to have to find out if this guy's on Twitter, this director.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to look.
So
we'll tweet the episode out of
if you want to see what that scene should have looked like with the correct sound, we watched a video before we started recording this from the YouTube channel Good Bad Flicks, and he did an episode on screamers, and he put in a beautiful score to their leaving scene, and it made all the difference. If you don't believe us, watch that, and you will see what a difference the score can be.
Oh, yeah.
And let me say, if we do track down the director of this film and actually tweet at him, we overall, we like your movie.
Oh, yeah, no, I like this movie.
We like your movie, but just what the fuck on the song? Like, seriously.
Well, what the fuck? I might be the Minority Report with this, but what the fuck on this song? And what the fuck about that last shot? Because that pissed me off.
I don't feel as harshly as you do about
It's
that.
dumb!
Yeah, see, I don't feel as harshly about
so
it as you do.
Dumb! Ugh.
I'm not going to say anything about the end because...
Because why, David? It's a 30... It's like when we were on Who Goes There. It's a 31 all over again. Didn't even watch the whole movie.
I didn't watch the end of it.
You've seen it before.
I had an emergency. I had to take my dog to the vet.
Yeah.
So
legitimate emergency.
I had a legitimate emergency. Dog's fine now. He's doing better.
That's good to know.
I think he accidentally ate weed. But I'm straight edge, so there's no way it was in my house. But anyways, that's besides the point.
Okay. My
dog is not a doper. Even if Harlan Ellison says he is.
Another difference is the middle when they go to the medical cafeteria and that whole area, because nothing happens really underground in the short story. The only thing that really happens underground is when Hendrix first meets the other people he's going to spend time with.
And they
stay in a basement.
You really appreciated that they went to the factory and all that, right, Larry?
Yeah, it's not actually the factory. I was wrong about that. Yeah. But they do go underground, and they go to some kind of control room area, and all of that stuff is really where you start to pick up the tension that you need, and it has a kind of a vaguely The Thing feel about it, because everybody starts to worry about who's a robot and who's not a robot.
Who's a copy, who's not a copy.
Right.
Which basically extrapolates the theme of the story and kind of builds on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's all there in the story. It's just building on it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They had to make a 90-minute movie out of it.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty in the story for a 90-minute movie. Well, apparently they're going to be making a whole TV show about it, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So... do you guys feel? I know that there was a kind of even lower budget sequel. Do you have any interest in seeing that, or
for Screamers?
Sure.
Screamers?
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah,
I'll watch it because inevitably I'm going to force you to watch that Total Recall remake.
Yeah, that's true.
Damn it.
So there's no escape from this party.
I'm not saying we should watch it for DickHeads because
no, we should. I think I mean, people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people like more of this type of content.
Okay, well...
We're doing it, David. Suck it up.
All right, well...
And you never know. It might be something that's even more PKD. I'm not saying it'll be something good.
Because eventually, when this well runs dry, we're going to be glad that we had more supplemental episodes.
Oh, God. Well, here's the thing. I think overall, my judgment of the movie is that I'm impressed with what they were able to do with what they had. A lot of it looks really fucking corny, but, I mean, the story is there. And I think that's the most important thing. I'll forgive something looking stupid. I mean, if I can go back and watch, original series Star Trek and ignore, like, how it looks for the story, I can do that here. And I think the story is there with Screamers, and that's the most important thing, is if they're going to do something now with modern budget and, like, modern...
And is that... Did you say, is that a BBC show, or is that a Here show?
Do we want to start talking about that?
No, we still have more on the movie.
All right, we'll come back to that in a little bit. So
you can't answer that one question?
It is a British...
Jesus.
It is a British...
Christ!
It is a British production company. Yep.
Okay.
Mommy, Daddy, stop fighting.
But I liked in the movie how the character of Becker, who is the equivalent of the Klaus character in the short story.
Oh, the dude with the teardrop tattoo.
Right.
I like the other guy a little bit more with the glasses, but...
Yeah, he was also a great character. I think they did a really good job of adapting or creating characters that were more interesting for a movie than they were in the short story. In the short story, they served their purpose.
Had sweet
but they
shades.
didn't have really deep character. But they did add character to the guys in the movie.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying that the characters had, like, kind of more personality than just, like, names in the short story. And I think that when you give an actor, even if it's, like, a low-budget direct-to-video crew of actors, they're all trying to create their own character, so...
And I thought they did a good job with that.
Yeah, so kudos to the director again for making sure that he got something out of the actors. Because I'll agree with you there. But
and the reveal of the fourth type, or whatever you want to call it, the fourth variety, being the soldier, right? He's the fourth variety.
I believe is the fourth variety.
She's the second.
Sorry. Yep. My bad.
So the fourth variety is the soldier, the healthy soldier,
the healthy soldier, not the wounded soldier.
Right. And I liked that more in the movie, that reveal more in the movie. Because basically in the short story, he gets blown up. Klaus gets blown up. And then we find that he's...
Well, no, Tassos shoots him.
But it's after he got blown up. He's all messed up coming in. Or maybe he didn't get blown up, but he got shredded by the
You know what, I'll agree with
claws.
you. I think the reveal is a little bit more cinematic.
Right. I mean,
I
don't
for
know
once am going to say I agree with you.
I don't know if you can equate them, but it is much more cinematic. You're right.
You just said it was better.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, all right. So the Becker reveal, or the Klaus reveal, I pick the Becker reveal.
I'll go with it.
And then we have to talk about the ending. And not the final shot, but the climax.
Sure.
So
I like it better in the book.
I'm just going to drink my water right now.
All right, Larry, let's go. Get in the octagon with me about this.
I don't know if I have to.
Yeah, well.
Okay, what do you consider the climax of the short story?
The fight between Hendrix and Tassos as she gets into the rocket ship, and then once he realizes that she is the second variety and he's fucked.
Right. And then it's all resolution from there?
It's not even resolution. It's not. It's. Oh my god! Are you gonna Austin Powers joke me in this podcast? Fuck.
Just happened.
Oh my god! My heart died. You threw me off, you dick.
The ending of the story was realizing that the robots could self-replicate and they were going to basically kill everything.
Yeah, that it's not a resolution; it's acceptance.
Right.
That it's over for humanity.
Yeah.
To me.
Except for on the moon base.
We're not talking about those bougie-ass moon people right now.
Bougie moon people. The Moonanites.
Bougie.
Snorting moon dust.
Moon dust is really thick and nasty. And
Well, that's why you have to chop it down. I mean,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know what that's like.
living on the moon would not be fun. It would not be bougie.
I felt that the climax and the reveal of the second variety in Screamers was kind of dumb.
It was a little bit goofy, wasn't it?
It's kind of dumb.
But it also led to that girl fight, which was pretty awesome. I mean, they kicked each other's asses all over the place.
Are we led to believe, though, that the second variety can bleed and seem human? Because he cuts her hand before they get to the ship.
Right, that doesn't make much sense. That the second variety, well,
No, it doesn't.
The fourth variety,
None of them bleed, from what I can tell. Only
we don't
the second
have the wounded
variety.
soldier in the movie. There is no wounded soldier variety. There's just the chameleon piranha lizard thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first variety in the movie.
So is it that is she tricking him? Is that having blood?
It is a big difference.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if she's tricking him. I'm just wondering kind of I don't know if it's maybe a plot hole.
I think it is a plot hole that she comes to love him.
Yeah, that's dumb.
The whole love story is kind of dumb.
The love story seems very pointless. It doesn't add any weight, because I would have felt just as much for Peter Weller being betrayed if they hadn't had some kind of poorly forced romantic relationship.
I would have felt like he was more betrayed if they hadn't had that physical relationship.
Okay. Hey, there was one reveal too that we didn't talk about that was done in a really dumb scene, but actually ended up being, I think, a pretty cool reveal, which is the scene with Secretary Green, who's the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The virtual reality scene?
The virtual reality communicating with them, which for some reason...
Another goddamn VR thing.
Yeah. And for some reason, the door had to open for the hologram to come into the room, which makes no sense. Right. And by the way, the guy who played him is a guy named Bruce Boa, who I'd never heard of before, but when I looked him up on IMDb to see who he was the guy who was the commander of the rebels in Empire Strikes Back on Hoth.
Yeah, he was the rogue leader.
And they realized they couldn't get Max von Sydow for such a short cameo.
Okay, but the Secretary Green thing, so what is cool is they get this message from Secretary Green, who's supposed to be kind of the leader of the UN, tells them what to do, and then this reveal is that they find out that he's been dead for 2 years. And I liked that because they're on Sirius B, so they're obviously really far away, so that kind of the idea that they didn't even know, and then who was communicating with them, because was it one of the varieties, one of the claw varieties, the Screamers? Was it them manipulating and sending a message?
It was. I think they covered that in the end of the movie, right?
Right.
That he was actually one of the Screamers.
Right.
So I want to pose... Sorry, David.
So I'm just saying that was a good reveal.
No, I agree. I want to pose this question because
reveal.
It for me, I think it's important. Do you think, and this might just be a dumb moment, but I'm not really sure if the story explicitly stated this or not, but do you think that the entire peace treaty is just a ruse?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
it was in the story as well.
I'm not sure what Jefferson is talking about when they're going to when they're going to Titan and there's already soldiers. I feel like that stuff might be true, but the guy's dead. I don't know. It gets really confusing for me.
What I want to say about the Secretary Green thing, and it's funny that it comes in a scene where a hologram has to have a door open for him. But I actually think the reveal of the Secretary General is something that was not in the story, but is very PKD in a sense, and it sets up a kind of PKD type of idea, and so even though it wasn't in the story, I liked it a lot, and to me, that was one of the best moments of the film. Much like the bead of sweat in Total Recall that we all freaked out about. Yeah, I think the Secretary Green reveal was a piece of really good writing.
Yeah, unlike the end.
Unlike the end, apparently. So,
well, I liked the fight between the second varieties, the two women, but it was just.
But hello, fifth variety.
Right.
It's a fucking teddy bear.
All right, we know you hate the teddy bear.
It's dumb!
I know you hate anything cuddly and cute.
That's
approachable.
absolutely not true. I love dogs.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you that one.
Well, and I do like, though, that when the teddy bear and the little kid first show up in the story, like, our first reaction was everyone, all of us watching it, were like, fucking kill that thing. Like,
Well, because we've read the short
we
story.
read the
Yeah.
short story.
But when that teddy bear starts to move and rise up in the final shot of Screamers,
It's
come
goofy.
on.
It's
That's
goofy.
that's some goofy shit.
Wait, that's what happens at the end?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. That's really dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
It's dumb and pointless.
And I'm willing to bet that that's not Dan O'Bannon.
right.
So-
no, definitely
My heart's
not.
going to be crushed if it was.
If it's in the original.
If it's in the original script, then it's
So if
over.
we do tweet this to the director, Christian Dubois. Dubois, is that how you say his name?
Duguay. Yeah.
Dubois. Sorry, dude. We liked your movie, but that's a really dumb ending.
Well, and when his friend comes
So
back,
so we want to ask the director why the music, why
and
the
why
song,
the teddy bear.
and why the fucking teddy bear.
and why the teddy bear?
So when his friend comes back, I found that also goofy and kind of over the top Hollywood.
Oh, when the is it the third or fourth variety steals
He's-
the other guy's skin,
Yeah, he's the fourth
but
variety.
somehow gave himself the same tattoo?
Yeah.
There's some weird plot holes, like little minor stuff that doesn't seem to really match up.
Right.
Yeah, that was kind of dumb.
And
Then he,
and
chokes
was
him
full
out.
He was full of like exposition at the end of the movie,
Well, you gotta make sure people were paying attention.
or like
I guess.
explanation, not exposition, but explanation. This is why this happened, and this is why that happened.
It's a real Zack Snyder special.
Yeah.
Hey, audience. I just want to make sure you're not too dumb and haven't been following. I'll tell you what's going on. The comedian is your father. I hate that movie so much. Moving on.
You're so full of hate.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
You need to go pet a dog.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about how many varieties we give the movie.
Oh, are we
Yeah,
we
I
wrapping
think
it up?
I think we're
I
there.
think so, and then we'll talk about the upcoming second variety TV show.
Cool.
What I know about it. So I am going to give. I thought the story was 5 out of 5. I'm going to give the movie 3 out of 5 varieties.
I'll second that. 3 out of 5 varieties. Teddy bear, song,
The
and
song is
and I didn't
taking one variety away.
and I didn't dig on the whole kind of forced love story between Hendrickson and the other.
Jessica.
Yeah,
Jessica
I wasn't.
Hansen from Kansas.
Yeah, I wasn't. it wasn't digging it, and I think that those things stand out to me quite a bit.
Yeah.
Larry,
I'm going to give it. The problem is, I really like half the movie, not a half of the movie, but like parts here and there that equal half of the movie.
sure. No, I get it.
But I can't give it anything more than two
Wow.
2 varieties.
varieties.
All
I give
right.
it the second variety.
All right. David and I are the third varieties.
Yeah, well, I give it 3 varieties because I'm going to give it some leeway with like the low budget, and I
Peter Weller is almost worth a star himself.
I'm definitely
if I could-
giving it 2
Peter-
stars because of Peter Weller.
right?
Peter Weller's worth a star. I say the matte paintings are worth a star, and I'd say the other star is the fact that it's pretty close to the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are
Yeah.
that's your justification for 3 varieties,
Right.
or 5 varieties.
I'm with David on this.
I'm with me on this.
You're the Minority Report.
Right. I know they're making a TV show, but I really would love to see a new movie made of this. And I'm not.
I'd
not
rather
much
see
for
a-
remakes or anything like that.
Now keep in mind,
But I would love to see a budget given to this story.
I think they will give a budget to it. If you look at the BBC miniseries of City in the City, looks gorgeous,
Right.
and it has BBC has more production values than they used to. So the production company is Real One Entertainment, and they're a British company. Now keep in mind, British TV shows, they'll do 4-episode seasons, like all the time. Like Luther had a 4-episode season.
Mhm.
They do miniseries. So I suspect that you're not, because at first I heard about this, I was like, how are you going to do 10 hours of second variety?
I mean, it wouldn't be hard. You have a war, and you have a mystery, so...
You have war, you have mystery, you have lots of characters, you could focus on how they all get to there, and you could culminate in the story that we know.
Like I said, you would tell a different story. But in that same universe.
So the showrunner, it says it's going to be developed as an hour-long drama, and the showrunner is David Titchener,
who's that?
He was a showrunner on the show The Librarian.
Okay.
Which was kind of, from what I hear, it was like a kind of Indiana Jones.
It was hit and miss.
Yeah.
Isn't it still on? I think The Librarian's still on.
It might be. Or falling asleep just talking about it.
No, it's just I'm slowly melting, and it's so hot.
So he also was on a show, the Houdini and Doyle, which I've heard was really good, but I haven't seen it.
I've not seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that sounds like stuff I won't watch.
So, Librarians is pretty good.
And it says...
Dude, there's so many TV shows. We live in an era of I am drowning in TV shows.
Right, it's so true.
So, I believe... Yeah, so, I mean, the British TV shows, British sci-fi TV shows have been pretty decent lately. And like, I'm thinking about, like, Humans, which is a very PKD show.
Black Mirror.
Yeah, Black Mirror. The City in the City recently was really good. But I will say that I think the idea of doing this as an hour-long drama, like, I hope it's about 4 or 5 hours, it has a decent budget, and they follow the basic structure or the setting,
right? And the basic story of
I would use the setting of the war, the development of the different varieties, and extend the story of over the last couple episodes with the whole paranoia and not knowing what the different varieties are over the last couple episodes, and I think you could do that. I think it would be great. And it'd be pretty good.
I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, I hope it happens. Just because it got this film, the rights sold doesn't mean it's going to happen. So it's being developed. So I haven't seen anything saying that it's actually happening for sure.
Okay.
So, but the film rights sold, and they have a track record. So it'd be interesting to see what they've got in mind. So, anyways, I think
do we have any announcements?
Anthony, what's our next episode? We're doing a book next.
Next, we're doing The Cosmic Puppets.
You want to read a back cover? One?
Sure.
Well, what edition is this?
This is a killer edition that looks more like a fantasy novel than anything else. I'll post a picture of it on social media.
I have my vintage edition.
I'm actually going to read the one David has, because the back copy on this one is really brief.
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
Oh, stuff happens in a town. Yielding to a compulsion he can't explain, Ted Barton interrupts his vacation in order to visit the town of his birth, Millgate, Virginia. But upon entering the sleepy, isolated little hamlet, Ted is distraught to find that the place bears no resemblance to the one he left behind, and never did. He also discovers that in this Millgate, Ted Barton died of scarlet fever when he was 9 years old. Perhaps even more troubling is the fact that it is literally impossible to escape. Unable to leave, Ted struggles to find the reason for such disturbing incongruities, but before long, he finds himself in the midst of a struggle between good and evil that stretches for beyond the confines of the valley.
It's almost like there's a dome over him.
There's no fucking dome.
No, but there is a barrier. Larry,
this is what you're. No, hold on. This is what the
Let's not start.
No, hold on.
Let's not start the episode already.
This is. Oh my god! This is what Larry's version says. Any town, USA. That's Millgate, Virginia, with its central street, its flagpole, its local bar. A town where nothing ever changes, nothing at all, until reality itself changes hands. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a lot less.
Oh, it's so much less.
Dude, the cover on your copy of Cosmic Puppets, I'm only like 60 pages in, but that does not look like the book I'm reading.
Yeah, right. There's no scene where Zeus shows up to blast some motherfuckers with lightning. Does not happen in the Cosmic Puppets, but this cover be redonkulous.
Right?
Yeah, it does seriously look like fucking Zeus is showing up. Yeah, Cosmic Puppets, I'm 60 pages in, I'm loving it, so I'm looking forward to that episode. But any announcements that we want to make about other things? I'm working on a bunch of different interviews for you people.
My buddy Andrew J. Stone just dropped a new book called All Hail the House Gods, and it's a killer if you're into the Bizarro stuff. Alright, go ahead.
Alright, so if you're still listening to us at this point, which, I don't know.
You should be.
You should be. But if you're still listening, I would say that I'd also like to put out... We haven't done this really yet, but we really could use some help reaching other dickheads out there. And we could also use some help with... Here's the other idea that we want to spread to people. I know a lot of you that are listening are people who are diehard dickheads who have read everything already, so you're listening to it because this is a fun reminder. But also remind people that we can be an alternative. We can be Cliff Notes for people who don't have the time to read all the Philip K. Dick work.
Philip K. Dirk.
Generally. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
But
Gross.
we can be Cliff Notes for people who want to know about Dick, but don't necessarily have the time to read all of it. And I know, I have one friend who is listening because he said he doesn't actually really like Philip K. Dick's actual prose, but he loves his ideas.
And this person is a friend of yours?
Yeah, I'm going to keep his name anonymous. He doesn't like... What he said was he likes PKD ideas and concepts, but he's not into the prose.
So I would love to have somebody like that on this show then.
Yeah.
Because I think that would lead to a better, more interesting discussion. We're going to work on getting people...
More interesting.
You got something to say? Bruh.
Well, I know...
you just kind of said
like Renee
suck,
wanted to be...
She
wanted to be on Time on a Joint.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Which is soon-ish.
Soonish, October.
I think Rob wanted to be on...
oh my god.
What?
No. Let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't care about your friends that want to be on the show.
Whoa! Now Larry's taken over the dad spot of the podcast. All right, sorry.
All right. So on that note, it would be good to have some people who don't have a ton of Dick experience, and so I can. Well, I'll tell you later. But who the person is? But all right, we gotta go.
Hot.
Fucking out here.
Dick experience.
Oh my god! If you're still listening, I'm really sorry.
I'm not. I know you're still listening. Leave us a review. Tell people about us.
Yeah, please spread the word.
Take us home, David.
Yeah. So for all you out there, keep it
paranoid.
Always stay paranoid.
Stay paranoid.
I'm out.